train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That is Proverbs 22:6. Welcome back to another episode of Thinking Well. I am Kyle.
And I'm Nick.
What's up, Nick?
What's up, Kyle? It's Sunday.
We're recording this on a Sunday, and we usually do not do that.
And it's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
It's been a very long day. But
yeah, I'm excited to get into this one as well.
Yes, I am.
I gotta say, I think my favorite segment that we do, the favorite kind of episode, is probably these Meet the Members episodes.
Yeah, there's just something about them. Something about hearing someone's testimony of faith. That's what the Bible is for the most part. It's a testimony after testimony of different individuals, and it's extremely powerful how God works in individuals' lives.
No doubt. Well, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest today. Today on Meet the Members, we have CJ DeRamus. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, man.
Good.
Thanks for making the time.
Of course. It's been busy, but I'm glad we found a spot in here.
Yeah, you've been
after a long Sunday.
Yeah, dude. You've been a busy guy. You've been traveling a lot. New promotion at work. I'm sure you'll get into that. But
yeah.
But yeah, we just wanted to highlight you this week and share with us your testimony, your life story, if you will.
Sure. I listened to a few of the episodes already on the Meet the Members, so got some idea of
some reference.
So some reference. But it's funny because I guess y'all started with Zach, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got some cool things, talk about Zach, right? He's not here to intervene, so we can say what we want to say.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
No. So like Zach and like you, Kyle, I was also saved at a very young age of around 7 years old.
It's like the golden age, man.
That's the golden age. That's the 7 years old thing, right?
12 is pretty cool, too.
12 is lame.
All right.
Yeah, 12 is okay, I guess.
That's okay.
7's where it's at, bro.
No, I like 12. I think Jackson was baptized at 12, too.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, like I said,
So,
12's good.
Yeah, 12's good. I think, well, here's the thing. And so with the ages of salvation, I heard it in Zach's testimony. I think you talked about it too. And I had the same thing where, without, having the date written down on our Bible and, it was 70 degrees outside of it on a, March 25th of whatever, right? And so without having that, right, you hear all these other testimonies, you're just like, shoot, I don't have any of that. You know what I mean? Like I know I was saved, but and I was told I was saved. I kind of have, some small memories of it. And I remember being baptized even more. But yeah, so if we go back to growing up, my grandfather was a preacher, had a small little country church in Weatherford, Texas, over off of Tin Top Road in Bethel. It's called New Prospect Baptist Church. And actually, funny enough, my great-grandfather was a preacher there. And it passed, once he stepped down, it passed to my grandfather's brother, right? We called him Uncle Sonny, and he's the one that baptized me. I don't really remember much of his preaching, right? But I remember him pretty well. And then shortly after, I want to say my Uncle Sonny was only a preacher for a little bit, and then my grandfather took over. So he's the one I remember growing up, preaching, and he's more one of those firecracker preachers. I loved it. He would get super excited about something, and he'd let you know it. He had a great voice, too. He had like one of those country twang voices, always on key, too. Like all of us, I'm not a good singer, but I'm probably still one of the better ones in the family. if it tells you about, how their congregation sang growing up. But you know what? It was just praising God.
Amen.
And so it didn't matter, how anyone sang. We'd have a few really good singers come through, and like my grandpa would like wear them out. Just be like, you can sing, get up here, But yeah, growing up, a small little church, grandfather's a preacher, went to church every Sunday. Since that was in Weatherford and we lived in Lake Worth, we didn't really go on Wednesdays. And we usually didn't go Sunday nights either. So we'd spend the day at my grandparents' house, and then they'd go off to church for Sunday night church, and everyone would pretty much go home who weren't very close to the church, right? And yeah, so it was every single day, or I'm sorry, every single week at church. At a young age, my mom always would read the Bible to me, me and my brother. And so I would remember waking up early. Oh my goodness, I hated it sometimes. She'd wake us up at like 6 a.m, and this is like 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, all the way up until probably middle school. We kind of stopped doing it, but she would wake us up 6 a.m, and start reading the Bible, and we would start in Genesis and go all the way through. So I have read all the way through the Bible, but I do not remember it. I should say my mom read through the Bible, and I kind of listened. But yeah, and so, like I said, I got saved at 7. Good times. This church. So it's funny enough. So since we live kind of far away from Weatherford, it was hard to get out to Weatherford on Wednesdays. We actually, I think it was Miss Bennett, Carrie Bennett, right? She invited my mom. It was either her. I'm pretty sure it was her, because they were close at the school. I think Carrie was my mom's aide or something, and so my mom started bringing us here on Wednesday nights, and so we would do Sundays, in Weatherford, and then Wednesday nights here. And whenever I started, it was Nick. We just talked about it. It was Jeff Whitehead. Whitehead was the youth pastor up here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I want to say that was just 1 year, my first year, and I was 6th grade, so I didn't even get to get in like Miss Michelle's class or anything like that. I heard about it, and every once in a while she'll say something like, "Weren't you in my class?" I'm like, "No,
nope."
I started right at 6th grade coming to this church, so I never got to get in your class. But yeah, Jeff Whitehead. So 6th grade youth group was my very first year here at the church. I know my mom would always talk about how much she would learn, from Brother Jerry, especially on these Wednesday nights, right? And so it just became this is natural. This is a natural fit for the family. We're right down the street, literally a 3-minute drive across Jacksboro Highway. We're here.
Yeah.
And after Jeff Whitehead, we had Gabe, which we saw Gabe today.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so Gabe was my youth pastor for the majority of my middle school and high school. And then Zach came in kind of towards the end, probably, sophomore or junior year or whatever. And, it's funny, whenever I'm talking about my my past, especially in high school, I don't remember a lot of it. Like I remember bits and pieces, but I don't remember how I acted. For the most part, I feel like I was a pretty good kid. I didn't really get in trouble much. And I know for the longest time, I wanted to do something in ministry. I felt called to ministry early on. And just recently, someone on Facebook, not from a high school, reached out and was asking if I had some pictures from my yearbook, my senior year yearbook. And I just recently, like a couple weeks ago, pulled it out. And I had all, everyone's writing in their yearbooks, all your buddies writing it. And I was reading in it, and it was like, CJ, it's a great year this year. I loved our talks about God and religion, and, you're always an inspiration. And so many, probably half of them had God in there somewhere about me talking about God. And I don't know, I don't recall that being a specific thing to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was just like it just came naturally, because, I was in church quite a bit and things like that. But that was cool. That's kind of cool to see. I was just like, huh, okay. So I didn't start making mistakes till after high school, But no, that was kind of cool. Yeah. From there, end of high school, actually, I came back from camp, and shout out to camp too. So camp was also one of those things that kind of set me on the right path early. I remember surrendering to ministry early on, or at least having that conversation with God. Him just convicting me at camp, saying, "Hey, there's something more for you," right? And it was after camp my junior year that I was, super convicted about needing to do something. That God was calling me to something, right? And then I got home from camp, and I went into work. I worked at a little Mexican food restaurant over here. It was called Dos Pericos. It's really good food. And there was a girl sitting in the booth as soon as I walked in. Gorgeous. Beautiful girl. I walked straight to the back. I'm like, who is that? And one of the cooks is like, oh, that's one of our new girls. It's her sister. Her name's Chelsea. I'm like, oh, okay. Her name's Chelsea. Got it. And I mean, the rest is history. I mean, I tried my best, every avenue I could think of to get on a date with this girl. Man, I tried. Mm-hmm. And we finally ended up going out on a couple dates, and things grew. And, I met the love of my life my senior year in high school. So there's some really cool things to be said about finding your one and only that so early,
Mm-hmm. How was that dynamic like for in the youth group? Like, did you bring her to church at the time?
Oh my goodness.
What was that
Were
atmosphere
you prompted
like?
to ask me that question?
Nah, dude. Stop the noggin.
Okay. There's a crazy story about that too. And I don't know if Chelsea will want me to say it. But so Chelsea, before she met me, right, got into a little bit of trouble. And she was a good girl too. So this was like the one time she had ever gotten in trouble, right? And maybe it was New Year's or something like that. And she and a couple of her friends had all gotten a little bit of booze. I don't know where they got it, but they got it from somewhere. And started driving to a party, and they got pulled over in Azle. And the officer that pulls her over is, you name it, Mr. Zachary Hatton.
Amazing. I forgot about this, dude.
I forgot about this.
Yeah. And so and this is before me, right? And so she had a whole history with Zach, and Zach was her resource officer in high school, right? So she would have to see him at school, and then she would have community service after that one incident that she had. And it's funny because I had talked about coming to church with me, right? And it's funny because I told her, I was like, oh, I can't wait to meet our youth pastor. He's got a voice of an angel. You're gonna love it, right? And we're coming to the church, walk up the stairs, come in the room, and they lock eyes. And she's like, Officer Hatton is your youth pastor? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, he's also a cop. Oh, he's probably your cop, isn't he? And she's like, oh my goodness. And there's this whole background between them I didn't even know about, but
awesome.
They laugh about it all the time.
That's hilarious.
It's a fun story, and you think about it. Shoot, I mean, that would have been what, 07-ish maybe, and here we are, 2026, 20 years later, and she's a Sunday school teacher with me in his church.
Amen.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
God works like that, man.
Amazing.
But yeah, so she came, and obviously she didn't, get ran away, but run out or anything. But that's kind of when I stopped coming to church as much as I had been, because I had my license. Chelsea and I are together, right? We're kind of inseparable at this point. We're always together. I was working some extra shifts, trying to pay for gas, and I just thought I wasn't the every Wednesday guy, right? I would still go on Sundays my mom wouldn't let me, even miss church whenever, I was living under her house. She was like, no, if you're living here, you're coming to church, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the stuff, I do want to get into that a little bit, to, my life story and how, what's happened over the years. But, she made sure, my mom made sure, I didn't miss church on Sundays, but she would kind of let me, all right, you don't want to come this Wednesday, that's fine, but you're coming next Wednesday. I'd say, okay, right. And then, I get closer to graduating, and I'd skip 2 Wednesdays, right? And she'd be like, all right, well, if you skip 2, you have to come to at least the next one, right? I was like, all right, fine. Came to that, and then I'd skip 3 Wednesdays. That year I didn't even go to camp. that year, which is kind of crazy to me because I love camp so much. But yeah, it just kind of just stopped coming, right? I stopped getting that conviction that I had to be, I guess, to make the right choices, right? And it comes at no surprise, we got married after Jackson, so obviously we didn't do things God's way anyways.
Sure.
Right? But that happened earlier than what God wanted, right? And so I think when you add in, a relationship and doing married things that married people should be doing, and you not being married, right? That can put a wedge between conviction and your life, right? And what you're paying attention to, right? And instead of paying attention to God, I was paying attention to a person, right? Or a relationship,
Sure.
or whatever it was, right? And not to say that relationship wasn't great, because it was. I mean, we're still together now, almost 20 years later. But it shouldn't have been it should have been my my relationship with God should have been my number one, not my relationship
Sure.
with my girlfriend, right? But yeah, I mean, I was still other than that, I was still going to church on Sundays, so that wasn't too bad. I just kind of hung up from Lake Word Baptist. It was if I felt like going, I'd go on Sundays, and that was pretty much the only church I got. And then eventually I moved out pretty young, and the first time I moved out, Chelsea moved out with me, and we both leave our homes and start living that married life by two unmarried people, right? And then you get this freedom, right? And you start to say, okay, well, now I'm not living under my mom's roof, so I don't have to go to church today, right? And so we just kind of started, falling away from church, even my grandpa's church, right? And it would be every other weekend, every other Sunday, and then I would say usually we kept it kind of consistent. We would go at least once a month. That was kind of our cadence. And then the rest of the time, you can just doing our own thing, right? Obviously, God was not in the picture at all at that point. And then I would say I was probably over 21 already. Probably right at 20 is whenever I started to think about other things, right? And when I say other things, I mean alcohol and doing things that wasn't a character of me growing up, right? Growing up, I was just like, no, I'm never gonna drink. I see what damage is done to multiple people in my family. I'm like, this is not gonna be me. God's calling me to ministry, type of thing. And then I get away from God, right? And I start kind of diving into that stuff, right? And I think and I've heard a few sermons, over the past few weeks, and I think a few conversations, listen to your podcast and things like that. But it's that temptation of like, hey, what's one gonna do? Like, come on, man. That's not that bad, right? Mm-hmm. And then that one becomes two, and that two becomes four, and that four becomes a 6-pack, right? And so I started falling into this cycle of almost where I was drinking, if not every day. So I would spend one night not drinking, right? And it got to the point where it was not just drinking a few beers, it was like a 6-pack, or at least till I'm drunk, right? And I started that kind of early on, right? And it got to a point where, that was almost the number one thing in my life. I mean, I loved my family, right? By this time we had Jackson already, still doing things out of wedlock, right? not only were we living together, but now we got a kid together,
Mhm.
right? And then, you know, whenever you start to give into the world and into the things that the world wants, you start to have the same problems as the world, you know. And then, I mean, me and Chelsea were fighting over everything, and whether it was finances or you know, me coming home late at night, the way we were raising our son, to, you know, you name it, right? You know, I try to think back about what we even argued about. And I can't even remember. I was like, I don't even know what we argued, but I know we argued. You know, and there would be times where she'd go to bed, you know, crying, and I'm one of those who I hate when going to sleep angry or with something going on. You know what I mean? So I'd be like pushing her and be like, no, let's fix this. You know what I mean? And we get okay, go to sleep, and the next day would be a whole new issue, right? And I just remember that being a stressful life, right? And yeah, it was interesting. I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, I it's been so long since I've left that life that I try to like remember back on the things that happened and the things that we did, and it's, I mean, I don't even want to remember it. You know what I mean? And so it's hard to go back and really think about some of those things, but yeah, and there came to a time where me and Chelsea were actually in Colorado, and I was like, you know what? We'll fix our problems. It's because we're not married. That's the issue. Not my drinking, not me going out late and not coming home till 2 or 3 in the morning, but it's because we're not married. Why don't we just go to the courthouse, get married, and that'll fix all of our issues? So we did it. We went to the courthouse in Colorado, got married, and this was in 2014. Got married, and lo and behold, that didn't fix the problems.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought that, right? So, and that was September of 2014. And we got to probably about February. I think if I go back and I'll look, I can pinpoint the day that I reached out to Zach, but it was around February of 2015. So we're talking about September, October, November, December, January, 4 months, right? There was a weekend where, you know, I hadn't been drinking, and so everything was kind of easy and cool. We hadn't been fighting, and she kind of sat me down, and she looked at me, and she's like, I think we just need to go ahead and go our separate ways. And I was like, what? This weekend's been awesome. What are you talking about? We haven't fought once. You know what I mean? And that was kind of the reason she went ahead and brought it up then. She's like, no, this is why I want to bring it up now, because there's no issues going on. We're not in a fight. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and I think we should go ahead and split up. And I tell you, my heart just hit the ground. I mean, it's a feeling I had never felt in my life, and I never want to ever feel that again. You know what I mean? And it was almost a realization of like, hey, you are about to lose everything. If your family's not the most important thing to you right now, then you better buckle up and change, right? And so, I mean, I like got down on my knees and begged for her to give me just one more chance. And we've had these conversations before, right? She had never brought up the, you know, it's time to go type of thing. But she's like, I can't be with someone who's going to be like you. You know what I mean? And I didn't even know who I was. You know, I mean, you give in so much into this world and into temptations and into these things that God saves you from, and it turns you into a whole different person than who God wants you to be. And no doubt, I'm a different person than who she met in high school. You know, I wasn't even drinking in high school. I probably maybe tried one like Jello shot in like high school. That was like the furthest I'd ever gone. I was like, no, I don't like this. We're good. And so that's the guy she married. I mean, that's the guy she got with, right, in high school. And so I don't know who this person was, but this other person, who she was now married to, was not who she wanted to be with. And I mean, I can't blame her. I mean, I gave her a horrible life at that time. And so that was kind of the pinnacle of my testimony, of just me on the floor, knowing that I'm about to lose my family and I need something. And I tell you this story first to kind of tell you how God works, right? So a week before this day, my mom has been trying to get me to come to church forever. I mean, it was getting to the point where I probably wasn't even going once a month. And when I was going hungover. You know what I mean? And so she finally, and I don't know what made me do it, but she finally got me to come. And I came on a Wednesday. And lo and behold, we walk in, and Zach's now the associate pastor. And he sees me. He says, "Hey, CJ, what's going on, man?" We talked for a little bit, and there's a few other people that hadn't seen me in years. And now I'm married with a kid, right? And Zach still to this day, he says that day I walked in, I became like his number one radar. Like I hit his radar, a little marker on his little internal attack radar, gospel attack radar. I don't know what you call it, but it's so weird. 1 week before that, right, and then so a week later we have this huge, pinnacle of my testimony, and the first place I go to is Zach. I mean, this is a God thing, that he would put Zach on my radar. I couldn't tell. I probably would. I don't know where I would have gone or who I would have gone to if I hadn't gone to church and seen Zach that week before.
That like reintroduction.
Yeah. Like I almost forgot about about him. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't know you're still here. You're the associate pastor now. Yeah, and I reached out to him. I said, I need help. I'm about to lose my family, and I can't lose them. And he told me, he was like, well, yeah, if you want to make a change, he's like, I can meet you. I think he said at 6 a.m. Every week, and we start going through the Bible, or whatever, right? And so, and this was before I joined the church, right? And so he's just meeting with me, right? And this was every week. We'd meet at 6 a.m. and we go through the whole week's hear journals, right? Those hear journals he always talks about. And I start to get under God's conviction again, and I start to hear truth and understand that, hey, this is a 180. I mean, I was headed for destruction, as temptation and sin always does, right? And now, I'm doing my best to get right and to change from this person that I didn't even recognize anymore, And yeah, so I mean, me and Zach, it was probably a good 3 or 4 months of us meeting, and I had started going back to my grandpa's church, right? And so I'd be going there, and on Wednesdays I'd come here, and so I was getting back in the Word, getting back into church, getting some accountability in my life. And Chelsea was doing the same. I was at home studying, she was studying. I mean, honestly, we both became two different people under God, of who God wanted us to be. Right? I mean, I can't even remember the last time we've even had a fight. I mean, me and her, I mean, I feel like we're like those people who know exactly what each other's thinking and trying to say, like in this crowd, and we can have like a whole conversation and know exactly what we're talking about. You know what I mean? And that's how it. I mean, that's how it's been for so long, and it came to a point where Zach sat down with us and at his old house before he got this new one, and he looked at us. And he was like, "So, what's the plan, man?" I'm like, "What do you mean? It's going great." He goes, "Yeah, but you're half the time at your grandpa's church. You're half the time over here at this church." He's like, "Which church do you belong to?" I'm like, I don't know. Can't I just do what I'm doing? This is working out great, you know? And he goes, "No, man, you're church homeless. You gotta have a church home and like start serving and invest and like, you know, glorify God through it." Right. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, you know, it was a whole night. Right. So I'm sure there was a whole lot more said, but he got through to us. And so we were like, you know, it makes sense. We live close by, you know, Lake Worth. We can't make it to Wednesdays at the other church. And I guess, you know, we'll pick a church. And that was a hard decision too, because it's hard to leave a church that your family, pretty much my whole family went there, right?
Yeah, sure.
Not only my grandpa's a preacher there, but my aunts and my uncle. My uncle was a deacon there, and he was the song leader there.
There's deep roots there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Deep roots, right? That's where I was saved.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was a really hard decision to make, was leaving my grandpa's church and coming to this one. But I mean, looking back now, right? You can see the whole, you know, landscape of everything, right? I'm like, I would not be as rooted into ministry as I am now if I hadn't moved. You know what I mean? It would have been the same thing. You know, go to one church, go to another, and don't really set roots into either one, right? Yeah. And so that's what I did. I moved my membership here. Chelsea got rebaptized here. There was some scriptural things, I guess, with the other church she had been baptized at, and so that we got that all finalized here. And me, Chelsea, and Jackson joined the Lake Worth Baptist Church. And yeah, I mean, me and Zach continued the whole discipleship program. I mean, there's a couple times we would have like 8 or 10 guys with us. I mean, it grew fast, right?
Yeah, I think I attended for a while. I think for a little while. It was Panera for a while.
Yeah, Panera.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Early morning Panera.
Yep.
And that's whenever we switched to Saturdays.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I like that one a little bit better
Early
than the 6
Panera,
o'clock.
yeah.
So me and Zach would meet at 6 a.m. at Chick-fil-A, like on a Tuesday usually, or something like that. That was so early. Man.
6 a.m.'s early, bro.
Gosh.
That's like a 4:30, 4 o'clock wake up.
Yeah.
That's early, dude.
Yeah. And then I went straight to work after. So we do our little discipleship and then go straight to work. But yeah. And I would say after I wasn't at the church long actually before I, you know, God, once you're in God's will, once you're doing the things that God wants you to do, right? And he starts aligning your desires with his desires and his will becomes apparent, right? It was apparent that there was something bigger that needed to happen with me in my life. And it was one of our missionaries. I want to say it was our missionary from England was here. And I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's who it was here. And he preached this message on like promises you had made to God, or like ministries that you fell at, and like getting back on and not quitting and trusting that God's ways better even in the failures, because he knows what's best, and he's designing the whole thing, and you're just along for the ride and just to trust him and go, right? And so I had remembered back in like high school, I was like, I was supposed to surrender this during this time, and I didn't do it, and I went through this whole backslidden life for so many years. I was like, there's no way, right? And God's just like pounding on me. It's like, no, you get your butt up there. I have more for you, right? And so I went up there, and as Zach talked in his testimony about him running up the altar or whatever to preach, I did the same thing. It wasn't I haven't preached at a church. I mean, I haven't become a pastor or anything like that. I don't know what God's got for me, right?
Sure.
But I knew it was something, and Chelsea was in the nursery. So I just ran up there, and she's like, what are we doing up here? Because they went and got her, whenever they're all talking.
So she was completely blind.
Oh,
she
yeah.
had no idea.
She didn't know what was going on.
That's amazing.
I was like, something, I don't know. God's calling me to do something more. And yeah, so, and I want to say I started in the youth group with your dad when you were.
I remember.
Yeah, when you
your
were
very
here.
first lesson. Yeah, I was there. I was a senior, I think.
Were you for my first lesson?
Senior or
nice.
junior.
Okay. And we did our. Were you here when we did the homeless ministry?
The very end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, last year we did, I think.
Oh, okay.
Before we stopped doing it.
So I remember I did a little bit on that homeless ministry. So I think you came in right at the end of. So I've been helping with the youth group for a little bit with Ryan on all that homeless stuff.
It was after all the excitement stories that came from the homeless
Oh,
ministry.
yeah.
I got the boring, I guess.
You didn't get the good stuff?
I know, I
No?
didn't get that stuff, but
Oh man, it got crazy out there. But it was fun.
no doubt.
It was fun. I think there's a couple times your mom was just like not comfortable.
It's sketchy, dude.
It's sketchy out there. And it's just like me and a bunch of kids just walking through this field, bunch of homeless people. I'm like, looking back, like I think your mom took a picture, right? And she posted it. And I'm looking at it now, like it'll hit the memories every now and then. I'm like, that's crazy.
Mhm.
I may have been carrying, but that was it. And I was like 26. Didn't even know how to use a gun, probably. There was a bunch of kids inside of this homeless camp. Crazy stuff happened. But yeah, I was helping with the youth group. And then Roger and Shar was getting close to their, exit to the children's ministry. And I started, me and Chell started becoming a Sunday school teacher full-time every Sunday. And I tell you what, and you could probably speak to this from preparing your messages,
Sure.
and you too, right? I learned more. Well, there's two caveats to this, right? But I learned more preparing these Sunday school lessons than I ever did, like just going to church. I don't know what it is. You have to dive into it to a whole different level to teach it.
Yeah, you're forced to go deeper.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's probably the most I'd ever learned is teaching second grade Sunday school. It was awesome. And our church in Weatherford didn't have all of the normal Sunday school. Everyone goes through Noah's Ark and this and that, right? There was the big ones that we all knew, but like all these small, like the Judges and like there's some crazy stuff that goes on in Judges. You know what I mean? And like getting into like the feeding of Jesus' whole ministry, right? I mean, we hit a couple of the big spots growing up, but we didn't go in deep into it, And so going deep into it with all these kids, man, it just lit up my whole world. Like the Bible came to life, once I started teaching all these kids, all these Sunday school stories, and I loved it. I still love it. Today I kind of went off script and got a little got down and dirty with some of the gospel message, pounding it in.
Well, it's that age.
Preachy.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about that age. I mean, it's like right on that cusp of like really being able to understand the faith
Mm-hmm.
and do something about it. So I mean, I think it's one of the most important classes we have.
Oh,
It's,
yeah,
it's
I
a
agree.
big, it's a big transition class, that one.
Yeah, yeah. And and it's interesting because the second and third grade I was in for the longest time, and now they pushed me up. I don't know if they're trying to just keep pushing me up. I don't know what's going on. I think there's some strategy going on behind the scenes that I don't know about. But now I'm in the fourth and fifth grade, and they're a little bit less quirky. Like they're not as at least the second and third grades when they yelled out answers, even if they weren't right, they're yelling out answers.
Right.
This next group, they're kind of just all not
Oh,
saying
dude,
anything.
youth group, been teaching youth group for
Oh, yeah.
6 years now. It's like pulling teeth to get some answers
I
sometimes.
know, it's crazy, but yeah, and so, and we started with that verse, right? Like you asked me what a life verse. I don't know if that's a life verse, but it is a verse that describes my life, and I mean, I owe it all to my family, instilling truth in me at a young age, making sure I knew the gospel message to be saved, that I had the Holy Spirit in me convicting me in all my turns and directions I would go in life. And when that time came where it came to, you can either keep going to destruction or you can turn around, I knew who to turn around to.
Yeah.
And that was from my mom and my aunt and my grandpa, just over the years of my life instilling truth in me. And obviously God, working his ways, just like moving the pieces, knowing exactly what was about to happen, putting Zach in my life again. There was no question on which way I was going to turn.
Yeah.
And now with, 5 kids of my own, one on the way.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first on the podcast. Yeah, anyone who listens to the podcast is going to know before Facebook.
You heard it here first. I may
Exclusive
or may
breaking
not have
news.
already known that, but
I know you knew it. Most people here at the church already know it. It gets around quick.
it gets around quick, and
Yeah.
like you start like doing like deductive reasoning, and you can kind of narrow it down. But congratulations, dude.
Yeah,
That's
congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
that is
Happy for you.
that is
both.
amazing.
I mean, we're excited. It's a lot of people, I don't know, I think it's a cultural world thing of just like, 2 kids per household, and that's max.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, there's definitely a change culturally from where you've seen like in the 20th century, where like early 20th century, where people just had, and like my grandfather was like the youngest of 12 kids or something, right? I mean, it's just a different dogma for sure about it. But it's rare. I mean, it's like 6 kids nowadays. Like you don't see families having more than 3 or 4. I mean, tops.
Yeah.
So I mean, good luck first. But congratulations. Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
Well, going back to that verse that we were just talking about, like, one, the fact that God has basically used that. I mean, even your own mom, just even when you were backslidden, was still reaching out to you to,
Oh yeah.
and which praise God for moms like that, right?
Amen. Yeah.
But like this is instilled in you, and I think this is a great verse for any parent, which like for you guys, 5, 6 kids now,
mm-hmm.
like now you know what it's like to not pursue a life with Christ and to pursue your own needs and to understand what the conflicts of the world are, like even in family, and how bad it can get. And now you're able to kind of take these warnings and just instill gospel truth in your kids, but say, hey, this stuff's true, but also this is how it's worked in my life. This is how bad it got for me and your mom in this time. I don't want that for you. And I mean, your kids, I only have Jackson in my class now, but the rest of them, they are all great kids. And I know they got great parents
Mhm.
who are like, even we're talking about, just how it truly is 180. When you're talking about just the early parts of your life that were troubling, I can't see it like now, like, and that's just all faithfulness in Christ and what God has done through you. And that's what I like so much about these sort of testimony episodes, because when someone is so faithful and just maintains that, Kyle, kind of like what you were talking about this afternoon in your first sermon, fighting for that faithfulness and just maintaining it.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes the testimony more powerful, because it's like, yes, this is how bad it got, but now look how great God has been, because not of anything that I've done except be faithful and obey.
Yeah. Submit. Yeah. Well, it's a crazy 180. Like, we keep saying that, but it's just how God used Chelsea in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I mean, both you guys, admittedly, weren't very engaged in church at that time.
Oh yeah.
But God still used her to, like, kind of pull you out of that and say, hey, like, here's the ultimatum. Like, hey, it's me or the booze.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was kind of like the dichotomy there. No doubt, looking back on it, God used her to, perhaps just kind of set you slightly on a different course. Without that, I mean, would you have reached out to Zach? Probably not.
No, definitely not.
Right?
I didn't want to leave that life.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like, and then, like you said, a week before, I mean, like, your mom got through to you somehow, some way, and got you back in church, and you put, and then even when you're here, Zach interacts with you in a way where when crisis happens and it's going down, who's the first? I mean, you remember that, right? There's like, who's the first person you think of? Well, I saw Zach last week. Let's reach out to him, and I can see God working and just putting these things in place, because it's funny, because like he knows how it was going to go, but I can see him behind the scenes like, oh, this is going to be good. Oh, this is going to be great. Oh yeah. In a week, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And like, he put you on a new path, and I mean, just the faithfulness. I mean, cause like I'm a little bit younger than you, not by much, but I can remember like when you first brought like Chelsea around to the youth group, I was probably 6th or 7th grade or something, with some of my first years there. And I can remember going to camp with you, and I can remember, kind of being the kind of that younger guy in the youth group as you were kind of getting close to graduating and exiting. But yeah, I mean, like, the legacy that you are growing from this change, I mean, it's the only way I can describe it. It's that but God moment.
Oh yeah, 100%. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because, I was gonna try to, there's so much that goes on. I didn't really even know where we were gonna go, right? So I was just kind of like, man, this would be good. This would be good. This would be,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But it's hard.
More natural that way.
Yeah. It's more I mean, just kind of talking through it. But honestly, I mean, especially with kids, right? And God's blessed us with a human being, one of his children, to be that spiritual leader, to raise them, right? And to instill values and morality and truth, that he's written out, that doesn't change, right? That was like one of the things today with the Sunday school kids. I was like, emotions change, your heart changes, relationships change. But what's something we read every single day that doesn't change? And it took a while, but finally someone spoke up. It was like, the Bible? I'm like, yeah, this is the same Bible they read thousands of years ago. This is the same. It hasn't changed. We can't trust on things that do change ourselves, and things we can't, hold true, whatever, right? But there's one thing that doesn't change, and that's the truth that God gave us.
That's right.
And so, but knowing that God gives us blessings of children, and he's given us a responsibility, to raise them in a way that, to where to where they can call Christ their Savior. You know, and it's not because Dad said it. It's not because we grew up in church, but it's because it's theirs. You know, and there's a few things I'm going to change. I remember growing up, and there'd be some things, you know, my family would kind of be lenient on. You know, you talked about your testimony, Kyle.
Sure.
You know, and things like that, and I mean, I fell to a lot of those same temptations, especially in high school. You know, and I would say, sad to say, but 80-90% of young boys probably fall to that temptation.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was never told to me that, hey, this is immoral. You know, what you're doing is you're putting a lesser value on someone else.
Sure. Well, you're diluting this this gift that you're going to have later. But I agree with you. I mean, like, it wasn't. It's hard to remember. I don't want to put that out there and say like it was never like, you know, explained to me like that. I'm sure it was, but it's just. I think it's even more of an issue than it was when when we were even younger.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, like. I mean, you have boys, I have all girls, but I mean, like, it's
Yeah.
still going to be something that I'm going to bring up and say, hey, like, you can't hide your kids from it.
No, you can't. But
Because, like, it's going to be there. So, like, you got to, like, toe that line a little bit. But,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't think we should ever, as parents, like, shield our kids, not from sin, but the consequences of sin. Like, you have
Exactly.
to, you have to
Yeah.
explain to them, like, hey, listen, like, I'm not just telling you you can't do this because, like, I'm this big, bad,
High and
mean.
mighty.
Yeah, like no,
whatever.
like, this is the killer. This is the destroyer, and I'm trying to save you. This is my job to point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think kids need to know that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and there's a balance, certain ages, certain things, right? But I mean, I think kids need to understand that, like, hey, like, there is a reason behind this. Like, I'm not just doing this to assert, you know, my authority over you.
Mm-hmm.
There's real danger out there, and I think if we're talking about like something like this in particular, like, I mean, the ages just keep getting younger and younger
I know.
that kids are exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it images or whatever that they're not supposed to be seeing, or anyone's supposed to be seeing.
Well, and the
And-
temptation becomes greater, right? It starts off with, you know, a website you shouldn't be on, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then it starts off with, well, you happen to be alone with this girl, or whatever, right? And it just keeps growing. And a lot of times it's expectations of the culture.
Yeah.
You know, their friends at school say, oh, well, you haven't seen that? Well, you know, I don't know what they say now, but who are you? You didn't look at this?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a responsibility there to educate your kids in a way that is appropriate, but it also will hopefully kind of save them from the mistakes that we've made.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Like, when you have your own kids, you can say, you know what, this is what I remember. This is how I was up abroad, and this is what didn't work for me. You know, this is what I didn't listen to. This is what I wasn't told, or whatever it is, right? And you can say, no, that stops with me, and I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure that, you know, like, my girls are protected in that way, and that they know that, hey, like, you know, I'm not saying my parents weren't, but, like, hey, like, I'm your father, but, like, I got you. Like, I would rather come and pick you up from someplace than you get in a wreck, or, you know, and have to go to the police station, or, God forbid, have to, you know, go to some fatality accident or something. I would rather, like, I got you. Like, you're, like, just be honest with me, right? And stuff like that. I mean, it's just, you know how it is, man, with young kids. You're just like, it's terrifying, but, like, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to start preparing them for the world that's out there. I mean, there's realities that you have to embrace.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult for sure. And there's about 1,800 books out there, and everyone's got a different opinion.
Yep.
Sure do.
So it's, I'll stick with this book
Yeah,
as much
that's a
as
good
I
one.
can.
That's a good one to stick with.
Yeah, I'll stick with that one. But I mean, what I seem to do with my kids is I I try to think about it logically and just be like, what's the end goal? You know what I mean? And what could this lead to?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because chances are it will lead to this.
Sure.
You know, if you look at just stats and all this and think about it logically, and what's your end goal? I mean, you just want to feel good. Well, how long is that going to last? And we have these conversations. I mean, in youth group, right?
Yeah.
And I remember having sermons where it would talk about that specifically.
Yeah.
Like, and it would convict me, but it didn't change my mind. Like, maybe it changed for that night, but that was it. You know what I mean? And it wasn't getting through to young CJ, and I would say it's probably the same for 90% of other kids. And I don't know. I think you've got to just be real with it, and talk about the consequences later on in life, because it will destroy your life if you keep going down there.
There's just a lot of regretted things. I mean,
yeah, that too.
A lot of, even what I've tried to tell like some of my younger siblings and things, because like I can't imagine, dude. Like they've seen me go through it, but just like some of the things, like I would plead with them, like, hey, like the way that I feel now, the regret, the things I can't take back. I don't want that for you. Like I can't turn that off. Yeah. Like no matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter what's happening in my life, there is always this part of my story that is going to ring true. Like that is the consequences of the decisions and the sins I've committed.
Yep.
Now, I'm forgiven of those, and there's reconciliation because I've repented from those sins. But because of this sin-cursed world, the consequences ring. It's a ripple effect.
Oh yeah.
You can't escape from it. You did what you did. And there's things that you can't take back. So I think, talk about testimonies, talking about having kids. I mean, like, this is one of the most important functions of what we do is like, hey, like, I was a knucklehead and I can't stand this about myself to this day, but you don't have to go down that route, man. Like, you can choose a better life. You can choose to wait. You can choose not to do this. Like, you have a choice. It's too late for me. I've made that decision. I have to live with it. But you're before that. You don't have to do this. That's why, like, I've taught a couple of times upstairs. Like, I like it, man. I like being able to pour myself into these kids and be able to like hopefully just do my best to make them aware that there's a better way to do things. And then just testimonies, man. This is why, like, this is by far my favorite segment. By far.
Yeah, definitely. I've liked them. I've listened to all three of them, I think.
Yeah, we're trying to get some people, man. I got my eyes on a few people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get them up here, but
yeah. And they don't have to be as crazy 180, as the ones that have been, like, mine and yours or whatever.
Sure.
Samuel's another one, right, that y'all have already talked with. But everyone goes through, everyone knows a life without God and how much better it is with Him.
Yeah.
I would say it's like the crazy ones. There's an amazing story there of transformation.
Yeah.
But I would say the ones that are the faithful ones that aren't just insane, like, I envy those.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the ones where I can say, like, the application is a little bit different, but it's like, be like that.
I praise God for those.
Yeah.
Well, I see that in our church. Like, I'll look at, Gracie and Alex, right? That's a good one. I like if I want to point towards, like, a couple or something, and there's a few of them in the church, right? Where Cam's a good one, maybe.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Cam and Olivia, right? Got married young and stayed in church, and same thing with Gracie and them. And like, I want to look at, like, these examples in our church, and point my kids to, hey, there's one life you could take, and there's another life you can take.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you have to be the one who owns your decision, but one is much easier.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's encouraged me Because since I've hopped on this podcast and have been a part of it, and I'm sure the listeners, if they're not new to this podcast, they've probably noticed all the changes to like each of the episodes, the branding, whatnot. And so, because I've gone through each episode and I've kind of listened to every single one of them multiple times just to do certain things on the back end. And there was one episode, I think it was Gracie's episode, where she's talking about going to college and was talking about all of these things that she learned in youth group she didn't think, or she didn't see the relevance at the time, or didn't know that she remembered them until she got into the real world, into the wickedness of it, and saw it all, and she was able to identify certain things, and she's like, oh, I know more than I thought I knew.
Oh wow.
And so that's encouraging for me as a youth leader here.
Yeah.
To know that, you know, we have a lot of homeschool kids in our youth group right now. And so, I mean, thankfully they don't see much of that evil.
Yeah.
Right. But there will be a day that they do. It's inevitable. For all kids, and, you know, and I'm hoping, and it's always Ryan and I's goal and prayer, you know, that each kid leaves this youth group, like when they graduated from senior year of high school, that their faith is their own, that they're able to defend it, and then that it's who they are.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, it's so much more than just showing up on a Sunday and Wednesday. It's so much more than just my family goes to church. It's like, no, I believe in Christ. I believe he is my Lord. I am saved. I've been baptized. I serve. I'm all in. And then if so, what happened? So it would be to happen that they get off the path a little bit. You know, they're able to remember things.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, I'm in the world and I see something I shouldn't, or hey, I'm being exposed to something I've never experienced before. Hey, that's what they were talking about. Hey, that's what they were instilling in me.
Yeah.
And so that's encouraging. And that goes with parents too, in raising your kids. Cause I mean, I don't have kids yet, but you know, Ryan and I only get so much with the kids. You guys, like you and Chelsea, you only get so much time with your kids in class.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is for the parents, you know?
No, you're 100% right.
The world's going to have way more time with your kids than your Christian church teachers will.
Yeah, agreed. And even going even further, you know, obviously it's got to be, you know, the salvation is number one thing, right?
Right.
But going as far out, because I didn't know this until I started attending this church, about how God's glorified through the church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just like, you know, as long as I'm going somewhere involved in something, it should be fine, right? Well, no. I mean, if you dive into it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you need to be, you know, like just like Zach says every single time we're about to baptize someone, you know.
It's so good, though.
Save
It's so
people,
good.
they become baptized people, baptize people, and they become
Church people.
church people,
serve
and
people,
serving
yeah.
people. Yeah, and I think, and I've already texted. I think I texted Zach this. I'm gonna start really working on like Jackson and eventually Leo. Once they get up to a certain age, to find something for them to serve in.
Yeah.
You know, something. Because I feel like, and I've seen it, and I'm seeing trends, especially in our church and other churches, that those younger people who are involved in some type of ministry feel like they're part of the whole. You know, they're just involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And when you feel a sense of like, I'm part of this.
Yeah.
You know, this is also, you know, God's using me for this as well.
Yeah.
You know,
I 100% am like with
I
you
agree
on
with
that. I think there's so much truth in that. I think that's the call.
yeah,
You know, you're like the time for serving for kids. It's not like when they're adult.
mm-hmm.
You know,
No.
like that. I mean, that's what we should be doing with our kids, and especially once they start getting, you know, to like middle school, high school, once they, you know, are a little bit more matured-ish, to where they're able to serve responsibly. I think that's super important, because the ones that aren't, the ones that, and of course, when it comes to kids, like us adults need to take the responsibility of trying to plug these kids into something, because like, let's be honest, kids are not always going to put the initiative forward to say, hey, I want to try this. No, you got to propose something to them.
Yeah.
And we should encourage our young guys to do it. And I think there's real truth in that. I mean, I'm a product of that. I'd say Bryce is a product of that, and so many others.
You look at all those girls, like Mallory and Ashlyn and Kennedy,
that whole crew.
Whole crew. They were serving in the nursery, still in high school.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
there's definitely a correlation of like getting plugged in early, and then this like retention after high school that you see.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's when you feel part of a system, when you feel part of something this big, there's a pride that comes along with it. But like a righteous pride, like, hey, like I'm like,
it's yours too.
Yes. Like I am proud to be a serving member of Lake Worth Baptist Church. And no matter what's happening this weekend, you will find me here at 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever it is, doing this, because this is my job.
Yeah.
Right. And I love doing it. And this is how I serve the church. And, you know, like there's no doubt in my life that like playing music or you know, now security. I mean, like I'm just like at this point, I'm just trying to get involved as much as I can.
I think you and I are in almost just as we're probably in every ministry together.
I'm just trying to get as like involved as I possibly can, because like it's been a foundation of my life that like I can't afford to neglect. But I agree with you, man. Like our testimonies are similar in the fact that we had solid doctrine taught to us at a young age, and it's the foundation is so important, because hopefully, like eventually you're met with this rock bottom, this ultimatum moment where you have to make a decision, right? For you, it was your wife getting a hold of you and saying, "Hey, man, like you need to choose."
Yeah.
You know, for me, it was, you know, hey, we're expecting our first daughter, and what kind of man are you going to be, right? Like, what kind of father are you going to be to this child? And then when you make that decision, where do you go? Well, if you have a foundation, you know, in a church like this, and you have, you know, solid biblical teaching and people of the church that love you, and are willing to, you know, reconcile and take you back and pour their life into you, that's easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you turn from it, you repent from it, but you have this system, you have this family that was just waiting for you to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and you get plugged in, and I mean, it's been amazing, man. It's been amazing to see like your growth with your family, what you're involved in here. I mean, you're an inspiration to me, man. Like, I mean, being a slightly older kind of guy, kind of doing things a little bit ahead of me, right?
Yeah.
I just love to see it.
Thanks, guys. No, it's been a journey, and it's always, you know, it's never easy, you know. It's always, now we fall back into like just trying to just like read my Bible every day type of thing, you know. And like there's like some weeks where, I mean, I know I need to change, you know, some things, right? And
Sure.
It's still a struggle just to continue to you know, stay on that path, and you know, with staying in church is really what grounds you, having that accountability side, right? Because there'll be like a week where I'm just like down and like, you know, not really feeling like, but I'll come anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then God like hits me right where I'm at. He's like,
that's how it goes, man.
You know, and then it's like, oh gosh, all right, let's get back on this thing.
How many times have we like gone to Bible studies or events or just church services in general, and like we'll all say like, I really didn't want to come today.
Yeah.
I really did not, but I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, I didn't want to come today, And I also learned that Zach somehow has a microphone in my house. Because that was directly, that was for me. But no, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's such, I don't know how people do it without something like this.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to get everybody here, man. It's just, no matter what happens in my life.
Yeah.
I know I have this church. I know I have people who love me. And, I mean, my friends are here.
Mm-hmm.
My friends are members of this church, my family. I mean, I like the older you get, I mean, at least in my life, it's like the less amount of friends you have outside these walls.
Oh yeah. 100%.
My best friends are people with my last name or people that I go to church with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it goes. But
yeah. I see, this church, my church family more than I do my regular family, outside of my, in my house.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like your church family is probably, closer than your extended family.
Yeah.
In that aspect,
Yeah.
And what a great way to, partner together and you can see growth, between everybody. I mean, I invest in someone else, right? Or whatever, or I can be a helpful, ear to somebody else that's having trouble. And it's just like, it's a cyclical thing, especially with discipleship. And that's something I need to get back on that too. I feel like Zach's kind of, he's always like, he wants to get on that discipleship of like starting a group and those groups go out and start another group.
Right.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Sure.
And we'll always start it, and then it kind of just kind of fizzles out a little bit, and then we'll start over again. And we haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Yeah, man, it's this Christian life it's hard to navigate. It's hard to make it work sometimes, but I'm excited for this church, man. I'm excited for where the church is going, what we're doing,
Yeah.
men of this church. It's a good place to be.
Yeah. And the growth this year already. There's some great things happening.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I'm pumped, dude. I'm pumped. Well, CJ, appreciate you being here, man. Appreciate you taking time out of an already busy Sunday to sit down.
Late Sunday.
Yeah. No, it was great hearing your life story, your testimony. No doubt will be helpful for our listeners, and someone can definitely relate to it. So I appreciate it, man.
Well, definitely. Well, thanks for having me, guys. And
Yeah, dude.
always appreciate what you guys do. And I feel like I see you guys all the time.
Yeah.
So we're all pretty close here, but yeah, always here for whoever else, Thanks,
Love it, man.
Thanks again.
Yeah,
Of
bro.
course, man. Of course. Nick, tell them where to find us.
You can find us Hammer and Quill Publications on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at podcast@lakeworthbaptist.org, or you can reach out to us on one of those social media sites. Also, check us out on YouTube. Check out our church, Lake Worth Baptist Church on YouTube, where you can see Pastor Zach Hatton's sermons. And yeah.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Thinking Well. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode. Stay safe. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.